It's very difficult to explain the Falcons. And it's very difficult to predict the Falcons because, one, we don't know what a full season from Michael Penix is going to look like. Two, we don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. Is he going to be traded midseason? Is he going to stay? Like, we don't know. But let's talk about some things that we do know. I'll say this. This offense with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts, this offense with Bijan Robinson is good enough to win the division. Yes, you would hope that the offensive line is a little better, but again, you have some core pieces. I think I'm still, not all the way, but I still have faith in Kyle Pitts more than other people, and that's understandably so. Kyle Pitts, it's been tough sledding since his rookie year. It's just been. Now I know a lot of people look at Kyle Pitts through a fantasy football eyes. I'm looking at it in a sense of you were a first round pick and you barely get targets. Like, that's an issue. But Michael Penix did come out and say that, Kyle Pitts is going to be a huge fixture in the offense this year, so we'll see. But this offense, again, Bijan Robinson, who is a top 5 running back in the league, Drake London, who is Drake London, can be at least right now a top 10 wide receiver in the league. Kyle Pitts, and then even on the defensive side of the ball, you have Jesse Bates, you have AJ Terrell. There's pieces that they have. This offense, at least, let's just stick with the offense. This offense can be good enough to be the best offense in the division, and that's saying a lot and we haven't got to the Bucs yet, but that's saying a lot with the Bucs in this division. This defense has pieces. I'm not saying that it's not gangbusters, but this defense has pieces. So the ceiling, I guess you can say, for the Falcons is winning the division, making the playoffs, and maximizing just the sheer talent that you have. The other option is they don't maximize their talent. They don't meet their meet their potential. I think, barring any injury, Bijan Robinson, he's so good that no matter what happens, he's going to have a good season. But that doesn't necessarily mean that for the entire, roster. Knock on wood, I don't wish injury upon anyone, but this is the first time we will see Michael Penix as a full-time starter since Washington. Washington College. And he's had an extensive injury history in college. I don't want to go over it because hopefully he's past it, but Michael Penix might not, might not reach the potential that he should. We know Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins is probably the only person in NFL history, next to maybe Jameis Winston, that can have a 500-plus passing yard game, and the next game have 3 or 4 interceptions. That. I don't know if it was exactly 3 or 4, but that is pretty much the roller coaster of a season that Kirk Cousins had last year, which is one of the main reasons why he was essentially benched. But again, they're the whole goal of this Falcons team should be to make the playoffs. Like I said, there are some teams like the Saints, like the Panthers, that look at their roster and like, we're not good enough to really compete for a playoff spot. Then there's some teams that is good enough to compete for a playoff spot, just might not be good enough to compete for a Super Bowl, and I think the Falcons are one of them. I'm not going to say that this is a make or break season. I will say this, actually. I'm not going to say that this is a make or break season for Michael Penix. I'm not going to say that at all. But what I will say is you're 25, which in the grand scheme of things isn't young, but in football years, you're 25 going into your second season. There's a lot of expectation with Michael Penix. And there's a lot riding on Michael Penix because I think the last thing that this team wants to do is go back to Kirk Cousins. Which let me put a pin in that and talk about Kirk Cousins for a second. For one, for the life of me, I don't understand why Kirk Cousins is still on this roster. If Kirk Cousins has already come out, I mean, he all but said it on the whole quarterbacks documentary that's on Netflix. But if you're not really open to mentoring and you feel like you're still good enough to be the starting quarterback of a team, which I respect that ideology. Again, he threw for 500 yards in a game last season. So I understand you thinking to yourself, I should be a starting quarterback. Even though he was amongst the league leaders in interceptions. If he's not open to really being a mentor for Michael Penix, on top of that, as much money as you paid this man to be a franchise quarterback. So I also understand why it's like he's looking at it like, wow, what's going on? And the fans are looking at it, it's like, bro, why did you pay Kirk Cousins all that? That's what we talked about during the draft when Michael Penix was drafted last year. It's like, why did you pay Kirk Cousins, like, I think it was a 4-year deal. Like, you paid him all that money to make him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league at the time. One, a lot of people don't think he deserved that. I'm one of them, but hey, it is what it is. But then the same draft, you draft Michael Penix in the first round. It just, I don't know. I feel like in certain ways, this is a boom or bust year for the Falcons. In the sense of, there's obviously a lot riding on the development of Michael Penix. And this is an uber talented offense. Like, yes, the defense still has some question marks, but it has Jesse Bates, it has A.J. Terrell. But this is an uber talented team. Or let's just take offense. And I didn't even mention Darnell Mooney. Like, you hope that this offense can carry you to heights that you haven't seen in a while. But I think if you don't make the playoffs, or at least, if you don't make the playoffs, then I'm not even looking at Raheem Morse because he's a great coach. But I don't know. I don't know. This is a very important season for the Falcons. And I think this is the first time we're really going to look into the window of the future for this Falcons team. This is a young team. But even with that, there is still expectation of, you have all this talent, like let's at least make the playoffs. At least make a wild card game, you know? But we'll have to see. There is no doubt, however. I don't know why I feel like I'm trashing them. I really feel like that, but I'm just being honest. There is no doubt in my mind that they are better than the Saints and the Panthers. You know what's funny? If you look at the top two teams, you wouldn't say that this is the worst roster or worst division in football, but those last two really bring down the property value of this division. I'm just saying, especially the Saints. I think there was a debate between the AFC South and the NFC South as to who was the worst division. Obviously, the AFC South has the Jaguars, the Titans, the Texans, and Jaguars, Titans, Texans, and Colts. And then, obviously, the AFC South has Panthers, Saints, Falcons, and Bucks. And if you really look at the construction of both of these divisions, there's a lot of similarities. So you can, as much as I think is going to be tough sledding for a lot of those teams in the AFC South, the Saints, man, the NFC South is tough. Again, I'm going to say that this is the worst division in football. But I feel like I just went on a tangent. Let's get back to the Falcons. There's expectation of growth, and I think growth is Michael Penix looks like a franchise quarterback, and if he does that, this offense is too explosive not to be a top-tier offense and not to be in the playoffs, let alone maybe if you just want to say wild card, cool, but this offense is too good, and we'll see. I know last year they had tough time stopping people on the defense side of the ball, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.